720, Big 550 KTRS. If you're listening online, on your radio, on your phone, don't forget to download the KTRS app, crystal clear technology, or you can watch us at KTRS.com, also at STLtoday.com. We are the morning show for our local hometown newspaper. 4 HD cameras here in studio. Greg Horn is the district engineer for the Missouri Department of Transportation. Good morning, Greg Horn.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Let's talk about what's currently underway. When is the Mississippi River Bridge going to be finished?
Well, that will be finished in less than 3 months, so we're about there.
Are you on time, overtime?
We are under time.
Really?
Yes.
So you're going to finish it sooner than you thought you would.
Right. Our contractor, he's actually got till March, but we're going to finish it up early. So
yeah.
They've been doing a great job.
Any surprises in that? I mean, has it gone flawlessly?
Yeah, it pretty much has. We have a great contract team, great design, so things have gone very smooth.
And then that's all going to sort of connect into downtown right through Tucker Street, right?
Right. Tucker will be the new main entrance into the St. Louis city. So it'll be, when you finish that and then the park over the highway, that we're doing down there, and then the Poplar Street Bridge right after that, St. Louis by 2015 is going to look completely different.
What are you going to do with the Poplar Street Bridge? Blow it up and start over again?
Well, just about. We're replacing the ramps on the St. Louis side, so we're going to make dual ramps to and from 55 to the Poplar Street.
Okay.
So right now it backs up. If you're coming downtown, you're back up going to 55, and so we make 2-lane ramps there that'll relieve all that traffic congestion.
And how long will that take? And when do you plan on?
Well, we couldn't start on it until after we open the bridge. So after we open the bridge, we're going to let the first project on that. So,
are you going to close down the Poplar Street Bridge then for some point?
We are going to be closing lanes, like one lane for a period of time, but there will be a time that maybe for 30 days next year that we're going to have to close down 2 lanes, basically. So we're going to be able to do it in stagger lanes.
Right, okay. Now, and then all this news with the arch recently, does that affect you at all or what?
Well, we already have the first project out of the gate there, and we are right on track with that. So we'll have that lid over the arch done by early 2015.
All right. I know that people in St. Charles can't wait till the Page Avenue extension continues on from Mid-Rivers Mall all the way up to like Wentzville. That project's rocking and rolling.
That is. We are within a year from finishing that project. That's 9 miles of grading and new bridges and everything else, and so we are moving like cats and dogs on that. It's fast. So
when are you going to start laying the concrete on that? It seems like any day now.
Well, they've already finished 2 bridges there, so they're already started. So they're doing a lot of the grading now. Probably next spring they're going to be starting paving. So
how is that going to work from 94 and Mid-Rivers Mall then to because a lot of people don't know that 94 and the Page Avenue extension sort of are there, and then at Mid-Rivers Mall, the Page Avenue extension, or I guess St. Peter's Parkway, is going to veer off and then sort of intersect 40 and 70 as it goes towards Wentzville, right?
That's correct. 94 will continue on down to 40, but it's jointly signed 94 and Page Avenue, or 364 for a while, and that'll veer off and go all the way to 40.
Yeah.
To the north.
Is there going to be a cloverleaf there at Mid-Rivers Mall?
No, it'll be you'll have some ramps that you get off there, so it's not really a cloverleaf. But I tell you what, that's going to relieve all the traffic. If you drive out there right now on Highway 40, when you're going out past Highway K, it backs up every evening. So when that's open, that should relieve a lot of that traffic congestion.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
MoDOT needs more money, don't they?
We do. Let me talk about what we're doing right now. We have a long-range plan that we unveiled last week. It's a draft long-range plan. We went out and talked to people all over the place, all over 112 counties, 232 communities since January, trying to get what is important to them. And what we found out is we had 12,000 responses. Okay, so we have a lot of responses. And the people thought that 4 things. We categorized all those responses in 4 things. They want us to take care of the existing transportation system and services that we enjoy today. They want us to keep travelers safe no matter what mode of transportation. That's the rumble stripes, the bigger signs, the guard cable we put down the middle. They want us. The third thing is they want us to invest in projects that spur economic growth and create jobs. Huge opportunity here in St. Louis with all the ports and rails, so we make better connections there. And they want us to give Missourians better transportation choices. More viable urban and rural transportation, friendlier bike and pedestrian movements around the city and stuff like that.
And they want you to do all this and cut your budget.
Well,
that's
the
a tall
problem
order.
is, yeah, it is. It is. Here's the thing. We're still out there. We're looking for input for that. So we want people to go to MissouriOnTheMove.org and give us our input because it's a draft plan right now. So we want to make sure that we got it right. But when we added up all those, those 12,000 comments we got, it amounts to about $70 billion worth of stuff, okay? Over the next 20 years, our funding now our projection shows only $17 billion. So Missourians are going to have to make some very, very tough choices in the future.
That's like a $50 billion
difference.
Yes.
difference.
Right.
Well, it's classic, right? We want all of these great things, but we don't want to pay for it.
Right. Well, and on top of that, our funding has dropped. We've been about $1.2 billion a year for the last 5 years, and our funding has dropped to about $700 million, and it's going to go even lower than that if nothing happens. So something does have to happen in the future.
Does MoDOT make a recommendation on if you want tolls or gas taxes or sales tax or anything like that?
Well, MoDOT is an implementing agency, so we don't actually solicit for funds. What we do is said, here's the plan, here's what we can do with how much funds we have. So depending on how much funds we can have, we can prioritize that and say, here's what we can do. It's really up to the legislators and the people to decide what they want and how much they want to spend on the project.
Yeah, because there aren't any tollways in Missouri, are there?
No, well,
They're all throughout Illinois.
Well, this is the thing that worries me is that other states have found ways to fund their transportation systems. I mean, ours, if nothing happens in 10 years from now, we're going to be sitting here talking about what bridges and roads we're going to have to close, okay? So something has to happen, and other states have done it. Like Texas does tolls. Arkansas just passed a sales tax. And there is a group, Missourians for Safe Transportation and New Jobs, that has filed for an initiative petition for a 1-cent sales tax. And we support that, but, that's not ours.
We'll make our political comments after you leave. Because again, that's not your role.
Right.
You just come and give us the facts, and then we argue about it. Highway 70 is a disaster. Any plans to redo Highway 70? It's one of the major thoroughfares from east to west. That should be a 6-lane highway going both ways.
Yes, we have been looking at that for a long time. There again, we do not have the funds to do that. That's $2-3 billion, and there's no way we have the funds to do that with where we're at right now. We barely have enough money to maintain our roads as we move forward. I know you see all these big projects we're doing right now. You mentioned Page Avenue, the River Bridge, all those. Those were all funded 8 to 10 years ago. So moving forward, we're going to be in maintenance mode.
Why did you lose funding? How did that happen?
Well, it's the way our system is funded was great when the highway department started. It's a gas tax. But what's happened is that hasn't changed in 20 years.
We have the lowest gas tax in the country.
And just about, and we have it, and it's just solely a gas tax. And what happens is when the price of gas goes up and down, it doesn't mean we get any more funding, okay? And on top of that, concrete and steel and everything else has doubled in those 20 years, doubled to tripled. And then on top of that, cars are becoming much more efficient, using less gas, getting better gas mileage. Great for the economy, but it's not a good way to fund transportation systems anymore.
And what about all the money that you got from the federal government, for
Well, that's part of that. We have, that's all the sales tax. And then we have a match, an 80-20 match with the federal government. We got for our 20% we match, they have 80%. Okay, but what I'm saying is that going forward, we have dropped half in the last 2 or 3 years, from 1.2 million to 700 million. In 3 or 4 more years, we'll be at 400 million, and so we won't even be able to match our federal dollars. And then when that happens, we lose big dollars. For every dollar for every $1 million that we don't have, we lose actually $5 million in federal revenue.
Give us a sense of numbers in terms of how many people use the roads, not just necessarily me going to the store, but over-the-road truckers that use the interstates to go from one to the other. That sort of creates that economic development. That's
correct. I mean, everybody uses the highways. I mean, 80% of the people in Missouri use state highways, daily. So that's transportation is a huge, and if you look at the other big cities, they're growing by leaps and bounds because they've invested in their transportation systems. That's what makes, that grows the economy. And so, it all kind of ties together.
Is that Poplar Street Bridge 40, 55, 70, is that the only place in the country where 3 interstates all connect right there?
There is one other. I think it's in Minnesota, but there's one of 2 bridges in the nation that carry 3 interstates across it. And the whole idea of the River Bridge is to, that's why we started on the River Bridge, is to build a new bridge to the north, take 70 off the Poplar Street Bridge, and move that traffic there. So we're just about there on that project.
Yeah, because you know what? When I go over the bridge, I'm like, okay, which way do I go?
Right.
Because it's a bit confusing.
Right.
And if you don't travel it every day,
it's a historic center point. I mean, is it
Right.
not? I mean,
Yeah.
the Mississippi's right there.
Right.
You're going over the Mississippi, and it's sort of the sort of centerpiece of the U.S. interstate.
Right. And you know, like I said, if you're in Illinois, if you want to go to the north, you're going to take the New Bridge. If you're going to go to the south, you're going to take the Poplar Street Bridge. That's the whole point, is move 70 on the New Bridge and then fix the Poplar Street to really make that the bridge that goes to the south.
There's always a project, because once you do one project, you know, like you said, you have projects that have been lined up for years. It's just an ongoing thing.
It's all kind of part of the big plan.
Right.
Is there a danger of the interstate commerce using 80 more than 70 across the country?
Yeah, there is. I mean, if we're not able to improve our interstate, I mean, 70 is congested. People are going to find other ways to get around, you know, and we'll lose a lot of commerce through St. Louis and through Kansas City.
Last question for you. Has there ever been a road or a transportation project that opened up that was never used?
Not that I know of. I mean, I don't know that anybody
road
would
less
build it.
traveled?
Well, right. But I mean, you know, everyone complains about, I don't. But you build a road, even if you built a road in the middle of nowhere, a 4-lane highway in the middle of western Nebraska where there's nobody living, eventually that road will be used, correct?
Well, yeah, I would hope that what drives our need to build roads is the need for people to get from one place to another. So,
Right.
I mean, we would never even consider building a road that
wouldn't be used.
wouldn't
Right.
be used.
I heard there was a story like in El Paso, Texas, they built like a 6-lane highway to the middle of nowhere, and like 20 years later, it was.
So it was part of a bigger plan. Probably they had probably a whole city planned on going out there, and it
Right.
was, you know, they built that first. So.
That's Greg Horn. Greg, how can we find out more information?
Go to MissouriOnTheMove.org and, you know, give us our comments on the long range plan, because we have the next 45 days. We're trying to make sure that we got it right, that people, you know, can get their comments and get their ideas in there, because we're going to put it together, then solidify it, then we'll start working on prioritizing the projects.
That is MoDOT District Engineer. Will you come back from time to time and tell us how things are going?
Certainly will.
You got it. And you don't have to wear the tie either.
I got another meeting.
Oh, okay. All right,
He
good.
didn't dress up for us, McGraw.
7:32 here on the Big 550 KTRS. You want to travel on the road?